Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in again. Sitting down here by the river on a beautiful day with my little man Duke, who's running around doing little boy things. And I figured I'd shoot the video down here about a bait that I feel like is extremely underutilized, guys. This is a bait at the professional level. There are guys winning tournaments on it, but they are not saying that they're winning tournaments on it. It's been around for 15 years or so. But again, it just does not get utilized by the average fisherman or at the local level as much as it should. And I don't know why that is, other than the fact that it's kept on the down low. And specifically what it is a scrounger head. A scrounger head, is just a solid minnow style bait with a plastic lip that adds the motion. It's kind of like a crankbait in a way, but it's a unique design that gives you a different presentation that the fish haven't seen before. So I want to talk about the bait itself. I want to talk about the trailers to use, the retrieves, kind of go over a little bit of everything. Before I do get into that though, I do want to remind you, if you're looking for a little bit of help on some of the lakes in your area, check out the lake breakdowns that I do with Johnny Schultz, Randy Blockett, and fishthemoment.com. You can check out the link, which I provide in the description for this video. It'll tell you all about that, but we provide 40 waypoints for each lake based on the season, a bunch of different patterns to utilize. It's really a good way to break down your local lakes. Also, if you're looking to purchase tackle, please remember to use the Tackle Warehouse affiliate link that I provide in the description of this video. Go ahead and bookmark it for future purchases as well. It's a great way to support the channel, and it's very much appreciated. Okay, guys, so scrounger heads. Let's get into this. Scrounger heads, like I said, are a very basic concept. It's a jig head with a plastic bill. The key here is the motion that that bill provides is a nice, tight, wobbling motion that is one of the most lifelike looking motions that you can find. It gives off some vibration, but not a ton. And the difference here for, when you're throwing a scrounger head would say something like this. This one's a used up one, but something like this Zoom Fluke, is when you get it going back and forth, you get very much of a roll back and forth that comes from the head down. Whereas if I were to throw, say, a boot tail swim bait, a lot of that side to side motion is coming from the tail up, and you're not going to get nearly as much rolling motion as you will with a scrounger head, because the rolling motion is coming from the bill at the front of the bait. Now, there are different styles of scrounger heads that you can buy. This is the Lucky Strike scrounger head. This is like the Genko Tennessee River one. They call it the Tremor head. There's a bunch of different ones. The Pulse Jig is a good one. But the key here is they all really work in a pretty similar fashion. They all get you that nice slight roll back and forth. Now, I will say a lot of companies do offer different size lips. So this is a short lip version. You can get a long bill version as well. The short lip will give you a little tighter roll, a little bit less side to side rolling. Whereas if you go with one that's a long bill like that, you'll get a little bit more motion. So the reason that's important is you want to pick a bill based on the conditions that you're fishing. So if I'm in super clear water, I'm probably going to go with a short bill versus the long bill. But if I'm fishing dirty water, or I've got overcast conditions with a bunch of wind, that's when I'll probably go with a long bill to get a little bit more vibration, to get that bait creating more motion that the fish can then key in on. So you want to recognize that there is a difference between the long bill and short bill versions. When it comes to a trailer, the trailers are really very key in this. When you're using something that already is imparting the action, you don't necessarily need a trailer to impart the action for you. And what I mean by that is a boot tail you would think might work great on this. The problem with a boot tail is it almost works against the bill. So you have both ends trying to create wobble, and it's almost like it cancels each other out, and you don't get the motion that you think you'd get. You get a bait that is swims very straight line. You get the boot tail kick, and you get a little bit of motion, but you don't get the erratic darting motion that you can get with a natural scrounger head. And that's one of the keys to it. When this bait starts darting back and forth, it'll like skip and bounce and slide and back. It just moves all over the place. And that erratic motion with the side-to-side motion is what generates the strikes. If you've got a boot tail on there or something that's got a lot of appendages that's creating motion, it creates drag in the water and it really wants to hold back the bill of the bait. So in my opinion, the best trailers you can use are straight-tailed baits. You know, in this case, you've got a Zoom Fluke. These are the Castaic Jerky J's, which are really well known. The Z-Man Razor Shad's a really good one. The Yamamoto Seiko's a really good one. You can also use just straight-tailed worms. You know, like your Berkeley Generals work really well on them as well. Or like you know, like a finesse worm, something along those lines, work well because you get a ton of motion out of that tail, but that motion's being driven by the lip of the bait versus the plastic trailer itself. So when it comes to fishing these, I've got a couple of really key areas that seem to work well. This bait starts coming to life for me in the post-spawn period. When the fish start moving offshore a little bit, at that point they start getting on some shallow bars, some shallow rock bars, some shallow shell bars. That's when I'd go with a lighter version and I would just swim it, you know, a nice steady retrieve. You put a couple of little twitches in with the rod, but you let the bait do a lot of the work for itself and you fish it on that shallow stuff. Once the fish move out to some deeper stuff, whether it's a natural lake or a, you know, a river ledge, something along those lines, you can start going with some of these heavier ones like this 1 ounce, and you can really get this down into 35 feet of water if you want, and slow roll it along those ledges, trying to get those fish to react to it just like you would other ledge baits. You know, it's a really good bait, and that's one of the places you've seen this bait shine. Guys like Jason Lambert have won a lot of money throwing a Scrounger head by bringing it, slow rolling it off that ledge. As soon as it comes off that drop off, those fish are attacking it. And it's a great bait for ledge fishing because it stays down in the water column. A nice steady slow retrieve and the bait is just doing its thing. You can almost pendulum it. You can almost fish it on a tight line, and when it's falling, it's still doing a side-to-side motion back and forth. It's a great bait as well up in the northern country for smallmouths, fishing some of those rock, sand, grass flats, you know, where you might be in, say, 15 feet of water or less. The smallmouth absolutely love this bait. And then so you can use it through that deep water period, and then again in the fall, once the fish start coming back up shallow, whether they're chasing shad or cisco that have moved up shallow in the fall, it's a great shad imitation bait, so it works all through that cold water period again. So it's a bait that you can use and apply almost year round, but again, just does not get the recognition and the use from the average angler that it should. From a terminal perspective or a rod and reel perspective, a lot of that depends on the size that you're throwing, you know, but for the most part, if I'm throwing something that's under 3/4, I'm going to be using something like this MHX NMB 874, which is a 7'3" medium heavy rod. It's a fast action, and then you can just pair it with a reel that you feel good about. This is the Revo ALF. It's an 8.1 or an 8.0 to 1 speed, so it's a little bit faster, but at the same time, I'm doing that in this case because I'm fishing it a little shallower and I want to keep my bait up. But if you want to fish it on some of the deep ledges, I do know some guys that are using it on some slower gear ratio reels, like some crankbait reels that are like 5.6 to 1s and 6.3 to 1s, just to make sure that they keep it down. But the bait itself does a really good job at staying down. And then I just throw it on 15-pound test, fluorocarbon, Berkeley 100% line. That's kind of a standard for me. But I want to show you what it looks like in the water, just so you can see how natural it is. You can see the motion that it gets out of it and some of that erratic motion back and forth. So let's go check that out. Okay, so here we've got, this is the 3/4 ouncer with a big, what is that? I think that's the 7-inch Jerky J. You can see just that nice wobble. It's a nice slow roll. You get a natural movement. Now this is just a steady, slow retrieve. You can see that side-to-side motion. The straight tail worm, you can see, just provides that good kick. The Jerky J in this case almost has that leech-like or eel-like swim, which is really good. And then if you wanted to add, you can add a little bit of twitches and kicks, and that bait will kick off to the side. It works a lot better if you're throwing the lighter ones. You get a little twitch in there and it really does generate some good side-to-side motion. This is only 8 inches of water, so it's kind of hard to show you the movement back and forth, but I think you get the gist of it. Give it a try, a Scrounger head. If you guys don't have one, I'll put the link to them in the description. And it's one of those baits I recommend having in your tackle box, because there's times they will hit this and they won't hit other baits. So I hope this video is useful. Just a little bit of knowledge about Scrounger heads, something that really is truly used at the professional level, but not shared about that much. So if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned, another video coming out tomorrow.